Hello, good evening, everyone. Very happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful mothers watching. A very happy Mother's Day to all the cats and dog moms as well. And to the children who haven't wished your mothers yet, please go and do so and make them sit and watch this live session because it's going to be an interesting one. Also, we have curated a very fun contest that you can find on our Booknerds page. It's one of the pin posts. Go check that out. But after this session is completed, to celebrate today we have gathered to celebrate a book launch. The book is titled Echoes Under the Veil by author Amol Redij. He will be joining us. Let me just send him a request. Okay, so till the time the author joins, for those of you who don't know who Amol Redij is, he is a published author. Previously, he has written 3 books. His first book, The Moments of Silent Melancholy, his second book, 69, The Otherwise Poetry, and his third book, Acathexis, have been very popular. He is also been honored with the award for the Literama Award, and he was also featured recently in the Outlook India magazine. So today's session is going to be very interesting as we delve deeper into a conversation with him about his new book, that is Echoes Under the Veil. So I was just telling the audience about how your previous trilogy was published, and to be very honest with you, Amol, I haven't read any of your previous books, but from the reviews that I've heard and from my other team members who have read those books, they've told me that your work is pretty amazing, and all the 3 books were quite a success. So how are you feeling like with this new book coming up? Like, is there any pressure? What are your expectations? Are you nervous, excited? What's going on in your mind?
Uh, I am actually very excited. I am very happy for the kind of theme that book is trying to convey and portray. And I mean, I think Mother's Day is like the best day to celebrate womanhood. It's actually unplanned and quite coincidental that the book released on this day, and it was only like about a day before that I got to a realization that Sunday happens to be a Mother's Day also, which is, I mean, that was because my daughter was pestering me that what are you going to buy for Mama? I said, what occasion? Mother's Day. Okay, so I told her that my book is anyway releasing, so that's probably the best gift a poet or writer can give to the most wonderful woman in his life. So yeah, excited, very much anxious, nervous, and all sorts of not negative but pessimistic expressions. Fortunately, never happened to breeze around me. So I'm very hopeful. Like all my previous books, which have done reasonably well. So this book is something which is very different from what I have written before. Everything earlier was very uh, like very existential, very dark, very not heartbreaking or heartbreaks, but it was something uh, uh, which requires some sort of a very dark side of intellect to be understood. This I think is quite more universal, and which will have which I hope should have an impact. This was quite for some time on my minds to do this kind of genre, collate everything. And when I say unplanned again, it's because uh, there was a gap in between. So I was really didn't whatever I had planned with my future books and my film productions wasn't happening for some or the other reason, and I did not want this gap to prevail from like my previous book was exactly last year in May, and I had thought of something in between which did not happen. So just I thought that, and one day, when I was just browsing through all my poems and thinking about what possibly can come out best, this is the connect which I found that I had written about uh, uh, feminism or womanhood or a girl child and everything that our society basically tries to perceive and portray about women. And this is a chain of 54 odd poems that I find that have a good connect, starting from a girl child being born to being her being a toddler, hitting adolescence, puberty, her days of wanting to fall in love, heartbreaks, and then marriage, those pressures, working woman, and how she eventually matures and becomes a grandma and then starts teaching lessons of life of whatever she has learned. So this is a very interesting journey to read. Everybody, I think, not only women but every person, irrespective of the gender, would be able to connect with it. Certainly.
Great, lovely. I think this is going to be one of the best Mother's Day gifts that you can give to your wife. It was a good gift, I think, to me also. I'm not a mother yet, but still, it was a good gift to me also. Amol, as you had just mentioned that your book, like Echoes Under the Veil, is quite different from your previous works, completely a different genre. So, what led you to, write on the theme of womanhood? Like, what was the inspiration behind this work?
Uh, Inspiration, I wouldn't say inspiration. It's, I mean, like all my poetry has been accidental. Is it like more so? It it's sort of an healing process for me. So it's like I cannot go and fight everybody and everyone around, but poetry is my form of expressing my angst, or not anger, mind you, but certain things which I don't feel comfortable with, and uh, I I am a like I do have a shade of feminism. I am not a very hardcore feminist, so to speak,
Mhm.
but I do understand that those sensitivities and sensibilities of what women, especially in our Indian culture and our society, have been through, are going through, and hope not, but continue to go through. So it's something which I have been very. I wanted to be vocal. I have been vocal in speaking to few in my family members and things, but I thought it was the best way to Uh, I have always written about issues related to society, related to personal, not personal but human emotions and everything that is that goes around. And this is a good I would say a necklace which has formed of beads made from poems dedicated to women and girl power and female and all that. And quite constantly, even the films which I do all have a very strong female central character. The protagonist of all my films have been girls, all little small school-going children and women. So I think that comes very automatically. So there's no thought behind doing very specifically about this class or so. But yeah, I do feel things, and I as a duty as a writer, I think it's my responsibility to be vocal about things.
Great, lovely. Amol, apart from what you just spoke about, like the social issues, also your poems have also a reflection of the social issues, the societal expectations that women go through. Apart from these, there are also some very deep and secretive thoughts, like a reflection of inner thoughts that women feel, like our insecurities, our vulnerabilities. And when I was reading that for a brief moment of time, I was like, who is spilling all the secrets? Like, to see somebody, who's not a female to be able to pen down these, feminine emotions
Mhm.
in such a beautiful manner, I was like, okay, how is it possible? So, how did you do it? Were there any, particular challenges or any kind of emotions that you were feeling when you were writing these?
Uh, Very honestly, I wasn't feeling personally as such. I mean, quite obviously, because I cannot reach that, level of the emotions or the kind of uh, sensitivities that a woman or a girl would feel. But I think one perspective which I would definitely want to speak is that I have been very close, and like all, like this should sound cliched, but all through my life I have always been around wonderful women, which starts with my grandmother to my daughter who's 9 years old now. So I have been in very close proximity with women, girl, uh, during my all these 47 years of growing up. So I think I make a quite good a connect in understanding those what that emotion could be. But of course, it will not be 100% correct all the time. It should not be, because uh, women are again not very cliched, but quite complex in a very positive sense, that they have to sort of, they deal with lot of which no man could probably even perceive, or think about actually getting their hands into. But yes, I do have understanding of what women might be going through. What I mean, when I remember of the times when I used to talk to my grandmother. My mother and I used to read books together, watch movies together, and there were some discussions around it. My wife is my best friend, so we have a lot of discussions around everything, like personal, impersonal, society, world, cinema, poetry. She does not understand poetry, which is quite unfortunate for me. But then yes, and those kind of flavors are needed in life. And my daughter is a very inquisitive kind of, asking me lots of questions, which though I do know the answers, I'm not able to answer everything. I mean, it's basically because not her age to kind of understand everything. Let her age train her in its own way. So uh, yes, the core driving force, I would say, would be my daughter, because lot of things which I could not answer her, but I understood, that found an expression in form of these poems and this entire collection. Yeah.
Right. Amol, as you had just mentioned, no, that women are like complex beings in a good way. I relate to that a lot because I grew up in a household which is very female dominated. I do have male friends. So, whenever I have a conversation with them or any interaction with them, a very common line that me and many of the females might have heard is that we are very complicated. I think that is because, we embody lots of complex human emotions. Like, we show our vulnerable side, we can show our strength, resilience, and even intelligence. So this is probably the reason why we are termed as, complicated or complex beings. So, how do you believe that poetry will be able to capture these, complex nuances of womanhood?
Okay. Yeah. So let me just begin by saying that complicated and complex are two different things. Okay. So I definitely do not consider women to be complicated. They're like, if you want to understand them, they are quite easy, simple, very friendly to understand. If that is what you really want to do. But if you start with the term that it is complicated, then everything is going to obviously mess
Correct.
up and complex things further. So complex is because, yes, because there's a turmoil of emotions. There are, like, at physical, mental, emotional level, there are a lot of things that a woman embodies, carries. So I'm very sure that no man can stand that, at any point. So which makes it complex in that way, which is what I meant by saying in a positive way. So how did this begin? Uh, Poetry will make, I'm not sure if my poetry would make a difference, though I intend a lot that it should. But poetry is taken seriously. I mean, in any form of literature. Not that I am discarding other forms of written material or literature, but poetry is for, like, people who want to read something serious, who really want to understand things at an intellectual level. There can be serious debates and talks around, and so I think poetry was the best form. I mean, I could have written a very good long story, starting from a girl child to she becoming a grandmother, but that not only gets lengthy, it also fictionalizes things. So poetry is more direct. It is taken more seriously, and this subject is something which, I mean, we have fought ever since. Giving. I mean, though we today speak that we are a gender equal society and an environment, but there are. I still feel, and I have personally seen, a lot of disparities still exist around. So that's the best way I thought. I mean, like, this poetry should be discussed by people who really think, who really want to think, and they who think that they want to change things in a certain way. So that's the seriousness and why poetry as a medium to express this genre.
Amol, and I feel, the way you have written the poems, the collection of poems is portraying the thoughts that you want people to see in a very beautiful way, I think it will create the impact that you're wishing for, that you're hoping for. I loved all the poems that are there in the. There were a few more poems that I loved a little more than the rest. So, but overall, all the poems are great. Is there any one particular poem that you feel encapsulates the spirit of femininity from your collection? Just you can just tell a little bit about that poem along with the title.
Uh, I tell I I've written towards the end of the book. It's a uh, it, it tries to portray women as a power, and so what I have done there is I have tried to sort of little personify things in terms of wanting to make people understand what uh, uh, not superpower, but what a power, or uh, what women uh, should be portraying, or should be looked up to, like. So there's one particular poem which I think I find very close to me, and so I have used three characters in that poem. So one is like Smita, Karishma, and Sushmita. Now, quite coincidentally, these are obviously my favorite actresses, and I am a movie maniac, so that analogy fits perfect. So Smita, I think it's like Smita Patel. She's like the
Oh,
best ever, and the strongest woman that I have seen portray acting in that sense. Karishma is because I was like madly in love with her once upon a time, and Sushmita,
same.
I, I, I have I have immense respect for. Uh, so
Same.
yeah, so these three women is something which I have used as an analogy, and the poem is called I think Daughters of the Rising Dawn. So this encapsulates everything that I wanted to talk about women power, what you can do where you are, what you can do despite of not being there. I mean, Smita Patil was like, she was into acting, and she thoroughly like, outperformed in every possible way. The strongest uh, element of acting which could be conveyed. Sushmita Sen is like, I mean, she was a Miss Universe. She tried into films, and she was a very, very strong woman today, like in the society itself. Apart from her careers into acting and modeling, she's looked up to. She's respected. Karishma Kapoor again, like she's whatever she had been through, and the kind of cinema she did, and then the thing. So I'm very fond of these three women in my life, apart from my wife, of course. So, so that is one poem which I think it covers everything. It's a full circle in itself of uh, how I want to understand, how I want people to understand women, and look up to them as a very important, equal, and a powerful force of the society.
Okay, that's amazing. To the readers watching, I just want to let you know that Amol's book, It Was Under the Veil, is filled with these kind of amazing poems. Amol, I'll just mention my favorite poem from the collection. It's called Undressing the Gaze. It's probably because of the level of relatability, I was able to relate to that
Mhm.
poem much more than the rest. So yeah, it was a beautiful poem. I absolutely loved it. And the poem that you're talking about, I was very happy when I, read that, and I was like, oh wow, I didn't know that you chose those names because of your favorite actresses. So that's a new knowledge for me and quite interesting it is. Okay, so, Amol, while as I told you, I didn't read your previous works, but I
Mhm.
did check out your interview, which is available on our Booknerds website, where you had written about what writing means to you, where you wrote that, writing is your compass. It helps you observe, question, and interpret the complexities of society. So, Amol, do you believe that, poetry has the power to empower and uplift women by giving voice to their stories, as you have written in Echoes Under the Veil? So, do you believe that poetry has that power?
Definitely, I like I said earlier, poetry is probably the strongest form which is taken quite seriously. I mean, like. Uh, it is still being discussed. There are a lot of there's a lot of serious discussions which happen around poetry. And poetry has been always been a medium. I mean, like, even if you take forms of like dohas or shairis or ghazals, those are also forms of, and we have seen that things uh, being impactful and things getting revolutionized through poetic thoughts, and people who have read poetry, people who read serious poetry, who really want to understand poetry. Poetry is definitely a very commanding medium to infuse that those kind of thoughts into people, make them think, allow them to interpret, and then go ahead and have a discussion around it. So uh, I think poetry is, and I'm happy that I can write poetry, because that's a form where you know uh, it makes very very commanding impact. So to answer your question directly again, it's I do feel that uh, rather than fictionalizing things, it is all I would always be comfortable, and would want to express myself through poetry, because that will be definitely something which will be talked about, which I am quite pretty sure of. Yeah.
Okay. Talking about poetry and the forms of poetry, Amol, I don't know if you're aware or not, but a few months back during World Poetry Day, we had hosted a live session with a poet and author, Dr. Rebecca Watson. She also has written a book on her life experiences as a journey and the different human emotions. So, while I was talking to her, one thing that she mentioned was that nowadays, people, the appreciation for the traditional form of poetry, like, the lengthy, the long lines of poetry, is kind of disappearing.
Mhm.
And nowadays, if you see also, what is trending is 1 2 lines of poetry, 2 3 seconds of reels. That is what is trending nowadays. So Under the Veil has a lot of poems which are of good length. What is your take on this new age form of poetry?
See, like I said, I do not have a problem with the length of the poetry, as long as it is expressed well. It has a good thought behind it, and it helps people to interpret and comprehend in a positive way. I mean, poetry can be negative, but the interpretation or the impact has to be some sort of change. Maybe change in your perspective, change in your action, change in your thought, whatever. So even if it's a one-line poem, 100-page poem does not really matter, so long as it is written sincerely. So if you just think that I can like start with jotting down something and dribbling away and then just post it to get like in today's world likes and what subscriptions and followers. So then maybe no, I would I would not like to read that kind of poetry. However, having said that, I wouldn't want to restrict anyone to write, because I think what is needed today is people should write, and in whatever form, in whatever way they can, people should express, because that's what I see is lacking. You know, and I really don't think about what is going to happen after I have written and posted or published something. I really don't go behind it. Uh, my job is to write, and it ends there. As long as it does not breed or groom into something which is negative, which puts in anything which is illicit, so long as my poetry is not doing it, I'm happy. And so would I want everybody who aspires to write, who wants to write, who is writing, to have that thought behind that, don't instigate something which is not required. So my responsibility, I think my responsibility as a writer, and who has spent quite like almost more than 1.5 decade writing, I would want people to write and just write. I mean, like, really don't care about who's reading, how many people are reading, are they reading it the right way. Just finish your work with writing and end it there. The book will your writing will write its destiny, so that's about it.
Great. With that, we come to the end of our session of our book launch of Echoes Under the Veil. Amol, is there anything you would like to tell to the audience about your book?
There's only one word I would like to say about the book is go and read it. Just read, because it will help you and me both. Me in the sense because I would want to. I really want people, who really think to read my book. So, and it will make you a little more aware, little more sensible, in trying to understand things around you. Not only about women here, I would say, but as generally as a human being, how we should be. We are by default very loving and lovable people. It's just only some elements come in and then it tries to contaminate our thoughts. But that's not basically how a construct of a human being is. So I think that this poetry will help you connect with that basic element of what we are, what uh, we are, and why also you should read this, because this book is very simple. It's not uh, very
True.
dark, complicated, like my previous book. So I have very genuinely thought about all my readers, all my people who want to read me, love me. That please don't write hard sentences, verses. You don't use difficult words because we cannot always have access to dictionaries and stuff. So this book is going to fulfill all that. You will not need any thesaurus or dictionaries. It is very simple to understand, and if you just read it with the thought of one wonderful woman in your life, irrespective of who she is, you are going to absolutely love and connect with this book. So don't shy away. I mean, it's there on Amazon, very easily accessible, very easy to go. Though it is, I would say, very evocative. It is thought provoking, but it will definitely not make you or provoke you into something which is getting judgmental about people. It is going to keep you balanced, and you would probably want to change your perspective of understanding things, look yourself in the mirror and then try to think about what things are. So that this book will definitely help you with that.
Great. And also, that one more thing, you can gift it also. You could give this book to all the wonderful ladies in your life. That is another one point that I'd like to add. You can gift it to your mothers, your wives, your friends, female friends, just gift it to everyone. So, with that, we come to the end of the session. Congratulations, Amol, on your new book. I hope it receives the recognition and love that it deserves. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure speaking to you. Abu's book, Echoes Under the Veil, is available now on Amazon as an ebook, which is for 49 rupees. And if you are a member of the Kindle Unlimited, then the book is free for you. So do check that out. You'll get that link in our bio. Also, follow Booknerds for more such interesting live sessions, recommendations, reviews, basically everything about books. If you want to connect with Amol, you can do so by checking out his Instagram. His handle is there, writer Amol. And yes, with that, thank you everyone for joining. Thank you, Amol, for joining us. Thank you.
Good night. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.